Hello guys, welcome back. It's Tempest Fanfiction. Today we'll be today you'll be hearing about what if Deku was the Verdant Emperor by the Hinokami. Okay, let's get into the video. Men were not born equal. In this world, yet you would think humanity would try to make the world as best as they could so that the overall level of humanity would increase due to the accomplishments of everyone. However, it seems humans are cruel creatures as they only aim to make the unfairness even more unfair. Now you might be wondering how we know about this, how we are so sure about this. Well, that is easy, as we will follow the life of one Izuku Midoriya, and we will see how the world treated him and how they finally made him snap. This snap would be a shockwave effect that would alter the course of humanity, as Izuku Midoriya wasn't your average person at all. Instead, he was a person they should have feared from birth, but they took his unwillingness to raise his hands in retaliation as a sign of weakness, instead of restraint. As such, Izuku Midoriya finally got pushed too far and decided it was time for him to change the world. It was time for a revolution, and he would lead it and rule the new world order so that fairness was no longer a fantasy. The time of the heroes is over. Izuku Midoriya's day was going just like it always was. He was being picked on and bullied by the other students, and the teachers did nothing to stop them. In fact, they even encouraged the students to do some of the things that they did to Izuku Midoriya, and that boiled his blood. But Izuku kept his smile on and pushed through each day. Izuku refused to break under the pressure. He refused to bend from his original goal. His goal, you might be wondering, was to become a hero. He didn't care to be the next number one hero because he was realistic that someone like him would never be able to do that but he didn't care how high in the ranks he went. He only wanted to save people. He wanted to save other quirkless people, the people that are torn down by society, those that are forgotten. He wanted to be a hero to these people. That is all that he ever wanted, but any mention of him being a hero would be as if blood was in the water and the sharks would come to eat him alive. Izuku Midoriya was currently sitting at his desk and praying for the day to get closer to the end. He was writing in his notebook labeled Hero Analysis for the Future. In this book, he was taking notes of people's fighting styles, their quirks, their weaknesses, their strengths, and anything overall that Izuku deemed useful. Then Izuku heard the teacher talk about career choices, and Izuku felt his stomach drop. He's going to screw me over, isn't he? Izuku thought as he saw the smirk on the teacher's face. At that moment, Izuku knew that the teacher was going to announce his choice on where he wanted to go, and that would send everyone after him. Izuku was more scared of what would do. Yes, that is right. Izuku does not refer to Katsuki Bakugo as Kachen in his own mind. He only does that to keep appearances up since he's sure that Bakugo would find him fishy if he suddenly stopped after all of these years. As such, he does it to keep appearances up only. Izuku still saw Bakugo as an old friend though and wished he would go back but he and wish he would go back, but he knew that Bakugo was likely too far gone for him to go back to his old self. Even if he did, there is so much damage that he has caused that he doesn't even acknowledge it. As Izuku was sitting there and preparing himself, he heard the teacher. He heard the teacher announce where he wanted to go, and then could feel the change in the temperature as Bakugo turned his quirk Oh my gosh. As Bakugo turned his quirk on and had small explosions already in his hands, as he slammed his hand down on Izuku's desk, causing a small explosion that knocked Izuku back and out of his chair onto the floor. The number of crimes he gets away with every single day is stupid, Izuku thought. However, he knew he could do nothing about it since the last time he tried to even get to the police, they laughed at him since he was quirkless and said to stop lying. Izuku's trust in the police weakened greatly that day, and he decided to keep silent and shut up. Bakugo was yelling at Izuku and asking him stupid questions like if Izuku thought he was better than him and some other random crap that Izuku just played stupid on and waved his hands to calm Bakugo down. I don't need more wounds to care for, Izuku thought as he got back into his seat. The rest of the class went by and it was time for them to all go home. However, Bakugo was not done with Izuku Midoriya. Bakugo walked up and pushed Izuku back down into his chair and was talking to Izuku. Damn useless Deku. How dare you try to go to UA? Quirkless freaks aren't welcome there and it's going to be my perfect origin story of leaving this dump without any useless people following me. Do you understand? Bakugo stated and Izuku just gritted his teeth and shouted back that they got rid of the rule that stopped quirkless people years ago. Bakugo didn't like that answer and placed his hand on Izuku's shoulders and burnt it a little, and burnt it a bit. He then grabbed the notebook and asked if it was a diary before he used his quirk on it to destroy parts of it before he tossed it out of the window. As Bakugo and his lackeys were walking out the door, Bakugo turned around and gave Izuku some advice. I know a way for you to be a hero. If you want a quirk so badly, how about you go to the roof and pray for one as you take a swan dive? Bakugo said as he walked out, leaving Izuku alone and heart destroyed. This wasn't the first time he's gotten suicide baited, and he doubted it would be the last time. But it made Izuku's dark thought return to his mind since it was from his old friend, or rather a former old friend. If I did that, there's a good chance that your dreams would end, idiot. Though I wouldn't be surprised if the police covered it up, thought Izuku due to his experiences with the police. Izuku went out and grabbed his notebook and started to walk away from the school. Soon, though, the last straw of his will and desire to be a hero would shatter. Soon, the world would give birth to a man that would change everything. That would change everything. Izuku was walking under an underpass, minding his own business when the event that would trigger it all would start. It was due to one villain known as the Sludge Villain that came out of a manhole cover. This villain was running away from a hero and had escaped capture so far, but he ran into Izuku Midoriya who had just walked past the manhole. As such, the villain grabs him and tried to hide inside his body, which would kill Izuku Midoriya. Izuku tried to resist, but soon he would be saved, but also crushed by the hero. The hero that came to save him was none other than All Might. All Might yelled out his Texas Smash. All Might yelled out his Texas Smash and blew the sludge villain apart, saving Izuku, who got knocked out due to the lack of air. After waking up, Izuku after waking after oh my gosh, I need water. After waking Izuku up, All Might got the villain together and had already signed Izuku's notebook. All Might checked Izuku over before he got ready to leave, even though Izuku wanted to ask the question. The question was, could a quirkless person be a hero? However, All Might refused to listen, but Izuku grabbed into All Might as he jumped away. All Might noticed this and told him to let go of him, but they were in the air, forcing All Might to land. The problem with that is All Might was at his limit. As they were talking, and Izuku had asked All Might The question All Might coughed some blood up and dropped from his buff form. It was at this moment that Izuku learned of All Might's true form. They talked for a bit and Izuku was left broken. All Might had told Izuku that quirkless people could not be heroes. Without a quirk, no, I don't believe someone without a quirk could be a hero. It's good to dream, but you need to be realistic. The job of a hero is dangerous and will get you killed if you're not powerful enough. Suffer. Oh my gosh. If you want to help people, then go be a police officer or an EMT. They get some hate, but they are still a vital part of our society. All Might stated as he went down the steps. He left Izuku Midoriya there on that roof with no other concern whatsoever. Izuku just stared at the door that All Might went through and just had so many thoughts in his mind at that moment. But one thing he was sure of that he snapped. He finally broke. Symbol of peace, more like symbol of lies. You have gone on TV for years telling everyone that anyone could do it. But in private you are nothing but a liar, a man of falsehood. Izuku thought with anger in his eyes. It was at that moment that one Izuku Midoriya had snapped, and many plans and ideas were flooding his mind. He was no longer restraining himself. Izuku soon heard an explosion from the distance and decided to go check it out. Soon he arrived to find one Katsuki Bakugo being held by the sludge villain that attacked Izuku. Izuku just stood there watching. However, part of him a deep part of him decided to push him forward to save Bakugo. What the hell am I doing? Oh yes, if he dies, then he dies due to my plans or at my hands. No way will he die to a lowly sludge villain, Izuku thought as he grabbed some rocks and as he was running he tossed them into the sludge villain's eyes, causing him to go backward in pain, which provided Bakugo some time to breathe. Bakugo shouted asking why he was there and Izuku just told him that he wasn't going to let him die due to some pathetic sludge villain. Instead, it was to be someone higher or at my hands. Izuku thought Izuku thought in his mind. Within seconds, All Might came down upon them and defeated the sludge villain, grabbing Bakugo and Izuku. Izuku tried really hard to keep his anger in check and at this man. Izuku soon slipped away after he was done getting yelled at by the pro heroes for rushing in. Really? Yell at me for doing your job and yet you all praise Bakugo for his quirk? Pathetic, Izuku thought. Soon, though, Bakugo came up to Izuku and yelled at him that he didn't need to be saved. Izuku just stayed silent and let him leave, though his peace was disturbed once again. That day, and only the one and only All Might arrived. Young Midoriya, I've come with a correction and an offer. As we were all sitting there doing nothing, you, the quirkless boy, rushed in and saved the day. I was wrong before. You can become a hero. All Might stated, and Izuku's plan soon came to a halt, but not for long. As Izuku's eyes widened, he so took another hit when All Might offered his power. What? Quirks that can be transferred? Izuku thought as All Might offered a quirk called One for All. All Might explained that the quirk gets passed down from one generation to the next, just getting stronger, and All Might wanted Izuku to use it to be a hero. It was at that moment that Izuku's heart caught up with his mind. Of course, it's all about the quirk once again, Izuku thought with anger in his mind. Izuku then looked at All Might and then spoke. All Might paled a bit. As I thought, this world only cares about quirks. I was hoping when you came here and said you were wrong that you changed, but you've just proved it. You are nothing more than a quirkish bastard in my eyes. Take your quirk and shove it. I don't need your pity, All Might. You've already broken me. Goodbye, All Might. Izuku said as he just walked right past All Might, who was in shock. He didn't know what to do. All he could think of was the dullness in the eyes of the young man before him and how he caused it. He regretted his words from the roof so much at that moment. Soon Izuku arrived at his home where his mother had yet to return from work. He decided to put his plans into action. Now, what plans could Izuku Midoriya have, you might ask? Well, of course, the plans he made from that rooftop to the moment he walked into his home, of course. Izuku was very smart and had a high intelligence, after all. He's only suppressed it all this time since him being smarter than others would only put a much larger target on his back, after all. It was at this moment that Izuku grabbed all of his notebooks, some other personal items, and his laptop that he hid from his mother. He started his plan and wrote a note to his mother that read, "Dear Mother, I know you might worry about me, but I need to do this. I've suffered so much. I can't do this anymore. From all the beatings and neglect from my students and teachers at school to the suffering that I put you through at having a quirkless son in this society. I'm sorry that dad left because of me, and I'm sorry that everyone distanced themselves from you due to my living here with you. I need you to promise me that you won't hate me for what I'm about to do. Just know I will always love you, Mother. So please forget I existed, since it will be better if you move on from me and not worry. Love, Izuku Midoriya." Soon the notes was finished and Izuku tapped it to the computer screen in his room. He looked around and took his last memories and that he would have of this room. He left all of the All Might stuff alone since there was no point in destroying it. His mother could sell it for money. Izuku did not take any of his clothing except a few pairs to change into. He would acquire mother later since the note could be taken two ways if the person was smart. It could be a suicide note or a note of something worse. As such, he didn't want to take too much and cause people to look too hard for him, since most people will give up after a few weeks due to him being quirkless. Izuku closed his door and went to the living room and took a picture with his phone of one of the hanging picture frames. This frame had his mother and him both in it when he was younger, thing when things were simpler. Izuku then looked around one more time before he left. This was the start of Izuku's journey to change the world. Well, guys, this is this is the end of the video. Like and subscribe, comment if you want. I'll see you in the next episode. Or the next part, I guess.